A concert pianist dared the hotel porter to play. He couldn't move when it was over. I have been coming to the Matsukaze Hotel for 11 years. Every October, when the maples burn along the lake shore, and the mornings turn cold enough to remind you that you are old, I drive up from the valley and take the corner room on the second floor and eat my breakfast watching the water. My name is Hiroshi Noda. I spent 40 years as a station master at a junction town you have never heard of. I am not a musical man. I cannot tell you the difference between a Beethoven and a Brahms unless someone points at the sheet music. What I can tell you is what I heard on the 4th afternoon of last October in the lounge of that hotel before the dinner service began. Come down early for tea. I do this every year. The lounge is empty at that hour. The light off the lake comes through the long windows and lies across the floor in stripes, and a person can sit with his cup and think without anyone requiring anything of him. The grand piano in the corner near the fireplace was, as always, closed. The hotel opens it only for the dinner recital on Friday evening, and this was Thursday. He was standing beside it. I noticed the boy because he was wearing his work clothes. The dark apron, the rubber-soled shoes, the kind of uniform that means you are not a guest. He could not have been more than 22. His forearms, where the sleeves were rolled, tattooed from wrist to elbow, the kind of ink that takes years, and a great deal of money, or a great deal of recklessness, and I am still not certain which it had been for him. He was not touching the piano. He was only standing near it, looking at the lid with the expression a man has when he is remembering something he has not thought about in a long time. I would have thought nothing of it. He was probably on his way through, taking a shortcut between the kitchens and a supply room. I picked up my cup. That was when Mr. Arimoto walked in. I knew who he was. The hotel manager had mentioned him at breakfast, a celebrated pianist, invited to give the Friday dinner recital, a significant figure in the regional conservatory world. He came through the lounge door, with the particular posture of a man who has been told he is exceptional for so long that his body has reorganized itself around the fact. He was perhaps 55, in a pale gray suit, and he stopped when he saw the boy at the piano. He looked him over the way you look at something left in the wrong place. "Are you lost?" he said. Not unkindly, not warmly either. The tone you use for a stray animal. The boy turned. He did not apologize or explain. He said, "I was just looking at it." Arimoto set his jacket over the back of a chair. A porter looking at a Steinway. "Do you know what it is?" "Yes," the boy said. "Do you play?" Pause. "Some." I had put my cup down. I was watching. The manager had appeared in the doorway behind Arimoto, the way managers appear when they sense that something is about to become a problem. Arimoto smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was something worse. The smile of a man who is so certain of the outcome that he can afford to be generous about offering the game. He pulled the piano bench back from the keys with one smooth motion and gestured at it. "Then sit. Play me something worth sitting down for. Peace, if you can." The manager took a step forward. The boy looked at him. The manager stopped. The boy sat down. "I want to describe to you what I expected to hear. A stumbling scale. 2 or 3 chords played slowly, from memory. Something that would make Arimoto's expression settle into the satisfaction of a point proven. What you expect in that moment is confirmation of the order of things, of who belongs where, of why the piano stays closed until Friday." The boy placed his hands on the keys and did not move for perhaps 4 seconds. Then he began. The first phrase came in like weather, low, rolling. The left hand, establishing something patient and vast before the right hand entered above it. I did not recognize it immediately. The opening had the shape of the Liszt Rhapsody, the famous one, but he did not stay there. He took that theme and began to move it somewhere else, somewhere quieter and more interior, the melody thinning to a single line that wandered up the treble register with the unhurried quality of a man who has been walking a long distance and has stopped to look back. Arimoto had not sat down. He was standing 3 feet from the piano, and I watched his weight shift. The music slowed further. The right hand's melody became something new, no longer Liszt, no longer anyone I could name. A phrase that turned and returned on itself with the patience of something that has waited a long time to be said. The left hand moved under it steadily, the way a river moves under ice. You cannot see it, but you feel the cold. The boy played with his eyes open. looking slightly past the fallboard. The expression on his face, not the performance face I expected, but simply the face of someone listening carefully to something only he could hear, checking whether he was getting it right. A woman at the far table set her book down. The music built, not loudly, not with the kind of drama that announces itself, but the way pressure builds in a room when the windows are closed and many people are breathing. The melody gathered itself for 16 bars, and then the boy did something with the left hand. A shift in the bass that moved the whole piece into a different key and a different feeling, and the room went, I have no better word for it. Still, not silent, still. There is a difference. Silence is the absence of sound. Stillness is what happens to people when something true arrives without warning and their bodies understand it before their minds do. I looked at Arimoto. He had crossed his arms. Not in the way of a man defending himself, in the way of a man who needs something to hold on to. His weight had settled back on his heels and he was watching the boy's hands with the focused, unguarded attention of someone who has spent his life listening to piano music and has just heard something that made him forget to manage his expression. The piece resolved the way a long day resolves, not with a bang but with a setting, the melody returning to its opening phrase and being laid down gently, the left hand diminishing, one chord, two, the boy letting each one breathe before moving to the next, until the last note sat in the air of the room and slowly was not there anymore. The boy lifted his hands from the keys and placed them on his thighs. For perhaps 5 seconds, no one in that lounge made a sound. Then the woman at the far table began to applaud. 2 other guests joined her, a couple I had seen at breakfast, neither of whom had appeared to be paying any attention. The manager made a sound in the back of his throat that may have been intended as speech. I was on my feet. I cannot tell you exactly when I stood up. Arimoto uncrossed his arms. He looked at his own hands for a moment, the way a man does when he has become uncertain what to do with them. Then he walked to the piano bench, not quickly, not with any kind of theater, and crouched beside it so that he was level with the boy who had not moved. Where did you study? He said. The boy looked at him. I didn't. Arimoto was quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that is not emptiness but reckoning. What is your name? Rio. Arimoto nodded slowly. The way you nod when you are processing information that doesn't fit the model you have been using for 50 years. He straightened. He looked at the piano for a moment, then at the boy, then at nothing in particular. The piece, he said finally. The second half. What is it? Mine, Rio said. Another silence. Arimoto picked up his jacket from the chair where he had draped it. He held it for a moment. Then he set it carefully on the piano bench beside the boy, the gesture of a man placing something down that he no longer needs to carry. And he walked out of the lounge without saying anything else. The manager stood in the doorway, looking as though the afternoon had rearranged itself, without asking his permission. I sat back down. Tea had gone cold. I did not mind. Rio remained at the bench for another minute alone. He was not performing, and there was no one requiring anything of him. He was simply sitting with his hands on his knees, looking at the keys, his expression still that of a man listening, checking whether he had gotten it right. I think he had. I have thought about why Arimoto left his jacket on that bench. A man like that does not misplace his jacket. He is too careful, practiced in the management of appearances. I believe he left it deliberately, as a marker, or perhaps as an acknowledgement, a way of saying, something happened here, on this bench, at this instrument, and I was present for it. The jacket was gone by the time I passed through the lounge an hour later. I do not know who moved it. I came down early for tea the next morning and the morning after. On Friday evening I attended the dinner recital as I do every year. Moto played beautifully. The Schubert, a Chopin nocturne, a Ravel piece I did not know, and the assembled guests applauded with the enthusiasm, people who have eaten well and want to be moved. I applauded too. He is a fine pianist. I spent most of that recital thinking about a Thursday afternoon in late October, and a boy with tattooed forearms who stood too long beside a closed piano, and then, when given one chance, used it. 40 years I stood on railway platforms. I sent trains on their way, and I received them back, and I watched people arrive at places they had been trying to reach. I know what it looks like when something arrives where it was going. That afternoon, in the lounge of the Matsukaze Hotel, With the light coming in off the lake in long stripes across the floor, something arrived. I have not forgotten it. I do not expect I will.